Welcome to License to Spill, where two licensed therapists tell the truth about mental health. I'm Christina Scaglione, and I co-host this podcast with my best friend and business partner, Julie Stark. So yeah, you're getting clinical perspective with a little bit of best friend energy mixed in. We created this space because the conversations that are happening inside of therapy rooms are just too important and too real to stay there. Each week, we break down what's really going on, not just the symptoms, but the pattern underneath them. This is a thoughtful, clinically grounded conversation, not curated, not sugar-coated, and definitely not performative wellness. Just a quick reminder. We are licensed therapists, but we are not your therapists. This podcast is for education and insight, not personal therapy or medical advice. If you are here for clarity, honesty, and conversations that actually make you think, then you're in the right place. Sit back and let's spill. Welcome to License to Spill. I'm your host, Christina Scaglione, and I'm with
Julie Stark,
who's in warm Florida, where we are freezing our katukas off here in New York.
Everybody wants what they don't have, is what I always say. I would love to be in cold weather as you would love to be in warm weather, but I get it.
That is true. Today's episode is a little different. We wanted to have an open dialogue about women supporting women until they don't type of talk. And the angle of today is not to bash anyone or anything, but is to just have an open discussion about patterns and projection and what it really means when a woman can step in her power and have support around her, and what the reality of that might look like sometimes.
And would you say, due to different things that have occurred over the last couple of years, we are seeing different ways that women own businesses and how they market themselves?
Yeah, totally.
And we can spot certain things now and open the discussion.
Yes, definitely. I would say that we've experienced some of the most powerful collaboration in the last year together. And in the last couple of years, myself kind of having a learning curve with this. And one of the most surprising experiences that I've had is the sabotage that comes with support. And both things can be true. You can have support, you can have wonderful and beautiful collaboration. And then the sabotage is kind of the shadow parts that people don't talk about immediately or don't warn you about necessarily. I think from a positive perspective, there's so many things that we could list off that we've both experienced from collective collaboration in the last 6 months to a year, for sure. Anything, I want you to chime in because I've definitely pulled you in a lot of different ways into the communities and have watched you flourish and thrive. What has your experience at least been about kind of stepping out of isolation and into community?
It's like black and white. And as much as, we talk about bashing dichotomy, it's a make or break for me. Coming together with a group of women who are motivated and intellectual and silly and funny and love their job, it raises us all up a notch and a level to perform our best. And there's nothing like community. There's nothing like having great people around you to bounce things off of and to seek advice from. And it's contagious in a way. The more people we have, the richer our conversations get.
Oh, 100%. What I'm picturing right now is when you came up here in July of last year and you set up shop in office number 3 and you had all of your clothes with you for the photo shoot that we were doing. And every single person that was waiting for their turn to do their headshots and their content all gravitated towards your room, and everybody was coloring on the floor and had crayons out and were doing, I know, thank you. They had, I don't know what you were doing. Were you gluing them? I don't know. There was like some sort of arts and craft project was happening in the closet that was now the walk-in closet of Julie Stark's office. And everybody was in there. Everybody, and more than half of these people had not met you up until that point.
And it was just such a great way to bring us all together. I was in there, art calms me down, and we had a very long day ahead of us. And I was just meeting everybody in this great team you had put together. And I'm glad you noticed because I loved it as each person would come in and say, "What are you doing?" And then they would sit down and they'd, take a little canvas and take some crayons and do what I'm doing. There's an activity of melting crayons on a canvas.
That's right. They were undressing them, basically taking their paper off.
They were yes, they were taking the paper off the crayons, but I didn't wanna throw that paper away, so and they were, like, curly little pieces of paper. So I took all of them and I put them on a canvas of themselves, just red, green, all th that say Crayola all over them. And it just for me, I had a lot of chaos in my head going on. There was a lot of stuff going on, and I'm externalizing the chaos onto my canvas and able to look at it there, which is helpful to me. And everyone sort of just got into it, and the mood was wonderful.
And so every time I walked past the office, there was another different person in there. There was somebody sitting on the floor, somebody sitting on the a little stool. There was somebody leaning over here, and every time I got banished and had to go to the library and go get more glue because we ran out of glue, and I didn't have any Elmers sitting around here in the office. So next thing I know, I'm like negotiating with a preschool teacher up at the library dropping names of people in town so she would lend me the glue and know that I was trustworthy enough to come back with the glue that I borrowed. I come back and it was so hot that day and I'm dressed in like a blazer and jeans and all this heavy, like kind of heavy clothes. And I walk back and I see that everybody that exists in the building now is sitting with Julie and taking apart the crayons. And I'm standing there like, here's your Elmer's, here's your
Yep.
glue. But I remember the feeling. I think that's the most important part about this is I remember the feeling of we're all together. We're in this together. We're all one. And I think the most positive aspect of that day was that we felt so authentic and genuine in sync with each other. And some of those team members were only meeting each other for the first time that day. And it all fell into place so naturally and so smoothly.
And I credit that to you, like I did in one of our other videos. Your picker is really good.
It's the glue.
It's you are the glue that holds us all together. I'll give you that. But, yeah, you have a great picker.
Thank you. Thank you. So I definitely picked you. So duh. So I think one of the things that as a business owner and as somebody who's been nurturing you being a stronger business owner and coming in and joining me in some of these endeavors that I think scared you in the beginning. And I would say like gently mentoring you so that you step into your power and your confidence in the last couple of years. I've watched you completely flourish in that way. Some things that I've noticed in this process, and I've relayed to you over my own experience, was there's groups that, not in necessarily in our particular business, but there's groups around us that are neighboring, if you will, business owners. And this is not just here in New York. This
Like
is
within healthcare? Are you talking about
yes,
wellness and
exactly.
all that?
I'm thinking about within wellness. Yeah. And it's not like they're not immediately here, but they're like, let's just say they're in our vicinity. And there are some that will genuinely refer business that were eager to see people succeed. And I spotted those people pretty early on. The ones that were like cheerleaders that were ready to collaborate, the ones that didn't need any credit, people that were just pushing. They were so excited when someone else got their permit and they were super stoked when you had your ribbon cutting ceremony and they couldn't wait to see your picture and they were like so excited and they could be doing something completely different than what we're doing, but they were so happy they could not clap loud enough. And that was like some of my, I would say, more memorable experiences in the beginning. And then when things quieted down, I started to see, not the same people, but different individuals started to emerge that had a different flavor, I guess you could call it. Like they weren't really aligned in partnership, for instance. They were more interested in shrinking other people around them. And it wasn't specific to me, but I would listen to how they would speak about others.
And that's a real shame. I mean, I think women are going to be gossipy to some degree, but it can also be used as positive criticism. But the way that these other individuals were going about things, there was a dirty underhand
That's
to it.
exactly it. It was either you or Christina Shine. I think it was both of you in the same week. You both quoted the Oscar Wilde quote to me in the same week, where it was like, imitation is the best form of flattery, something to that effect. And I
Yes,
was venting to you about something. And I just remember thinking, yes, and I'm also annoyed, right? And
absolutely.
then you and Christina said, you should make a couple things about this where you educate people about how you want to respond to the way that you're experiencing this unhealthy collaboration that you're experiencing, this insecurity that's emerging in some community members. And this is just wellness community is a broad topic. And I remember thinking to myself, like, could that be useful? Could that be useful and could it be done tastefully so that people can really lean into the education of what the learning curve is like to be in business as a woman looking towards her peers for support, other women, and it being a 50-50 shot if you have an ally there.
Yeah, you're right. It's a risk that we take. I think there are also different parameters. If other people were not in our direct proximity, then it would be fine to create something like what, Limitless and Root and Rise in North Carolina or something like that. But when people copy ideas, yes, it's flattery. They love the idea and they want to take it for their own. And I think that in general is not a bad thing. I like this. You know what? I'm going to try and do it. But there are underhanded ways that people tend to do these things out of because there's this deep dark jealousy or envy or that's what I've always wanted to do and you executed it. A lot of women have these amazing ideas. Think not to single women out, but historically, we tend to not execute quite as fast as others. I wish that there was a way that we could all support each other, but I think that's a perfect world that I'm seeking that just does not exist.
It doesn't well, I would say it doesn't exist consistently. What I've noticed with Limitless's ecosystem is when women collaborate, they do it the best when they aren't threatened by other people's success, and they do it best when they are thoughtful in how they want to participate. And one of the biggest overused phrases, I guess you could say, that I have said in the last year is there's enough room for all of us. When I think the tides rise, all boats rise with it. And I was kind of indicating to people that we're all going to be successful together if we support each other. And that is the point of the ecosystem and the point of the space. I'm grateful for the members that we have because each person that is here and has been here is utilizing the ecosystem and understands that model to be collaborative.
Right.
Every which way that you can understand that. But I would be lying if I said it was always that way,
Of
because
course.
it's not
Nothing
always that
is.
way. Right. Exactly.
Right. But you came up with a novel idea and you executed it. Did a lot of research before you started this, spoke to a lot of female entrepreneurs, and they just watched you slowly build this. And it's like a magnet. So many people are so interested and earnestly interested and happy for our successes. And some of them don't take enough time to see what our actual process is like, to see what we do and that you can still maintain your own business underneath the Limitless umbrella. I think people make quick assumptions.
Oh, yeah. I want people to stand on their own 2 feet within our ecosystem. You build your brand how you dream it to be, how you desire it to be, whatever life you have breathed into that. I want you to continue doing that, and I want you to kind of link arms with us and let us help you break through some barriers that you might be in. I want people to lean on each other in a way that feels equal and not about who's more successful than the other.
Because then you get down to what's the definition of success? And that's something I talk to my clients a lot about because they'll say, I just want to be successful. There's such different definitions. Is it
I'm so glad you're
financial?
saying
Is it
that.
emotional? Is it, they're just, and once they speak it out loud, they realize, oh, I can't just use that blanketed term because it doesn't mean anything. It means something different to everybody.
Agreed. I don't think I've challenged any of my clients with that word, but I will now that you're saying that because I agree with you 100% that definition would vary between person to person.
And even happy. I have clients who say, I just want to be happy. And I'll say, happiness is just as fleeting an emotion as sadness might be. So to keep your bar at, I want to be happy all the time, you're just setting yourself up for failure, right? So what if we shifted that word to, I'd like to find more joy in my life? There's just less pressure than happy,
Yeah.
the word happy. So, you know, just defining things, working with clients and working with our peers.
Agreed. So, Julie, you came into entrepreneurship a little differently than I did, and you built a clinical practice that was a solo practice, and then you chose to step into co-founding Root and Rise with me, and now you're part of Limitless's ecosystem. What has surprised you the most about being a female business owner in this ecosystem and at Root and Rise with me?
I think that You don't have my picture up in the front as being a part of Limitless?
Oh my god,
So you asked
I
me what
just
bothers
choked
me
on
the
my drink.
most. I would probably go with that.
I am okay, yeah,
Okay.
I'll put that up. That is a fair point. I don't have anything root and rise
Yep.
in the waiting room. You're right, I don't.
But you have all the clinicians and pictures of them, and not sure why.
I don't have an answer. I dropped the ball on having Root and Rise as the clinical arm of Limitless. It really should have a presence in the waiting room. You're 100% right. Outside of our business cards and my face floating around this place, I don't. But I do. What I do have, in all fairness, what I do have lining every single wall is your art and your name next to it.
And I appreciate that.
But I
But
don't have.
you asked.
Okay. So, as far as being a female business owner, has anything surprised you in the last year now that I have you part of an ecosystem where you're kind of juggling two different brands? And if nothing has surprised you besides your face not being in the waiting room, that's fine.
No, I'm kidding. What has surprised me the most is, I think, the eagerness of others around you and us who we meet, who really and authentically want to get to know how we and you did these things, and where did we start, and what did it look like. And just like everybody else, it's an idea that we start with, right? And then it's up to us whether or not to execute. And there's going to be so many hurdles and so many boundaries that are unforeseen. And those hurdles can weed out all of these women who don't want to pursue and push forward. And I think I didn't realize just how many barriers there are to get to what you want to get. And some of these things even out of our control, having to do with the government and zoning and all those different things.
So many things.
So that was a surprise. The other thing is just an eagerness of other women who we're meeting who are business owners who just want to be in our company and do things together and support each other. Why not? And I do get surprised at some of these other clinicians or female business owners who just don't want to collaborate. I respect it. That's fine. That's your way. It blows my mind because it's such a gift for us all to be able to sit around and talk.
Agreed. And I'm going to shout out Haley from the Curated Therapy Collective, who isn't on the podcast today, but I think we'll probably bring her on to License to Spill at some point because
Shout out to Haley Shapiro.
yes, definitely. I think she's created something that our field is lacking, and that is a very important piece of our business. Root and Rise is a very human-centered, what's the word I'm looking for? Paired matching system that we have. We don't do anything through a lottery or AI, and a lot of that is now how people are getting paired on therapy platforms. So she made it a point to find that little gap that wasn't being filled and made a business out of it. And I think similar to what I was discussing yesterday during the roundtable was how to be an entrepreneur and a clinician at the same time, and the loads that we bear doing both. You know, you were in a solo practice for many years, Julie, J Stark Therapy, and you were working alone throughout COVID and you were in another state. I guess kind of being massaged out of that and into the Root and Rise model because it didn't start that way initially. At least for me, I tried to launch something like this a couple of times and it didn't go well because I didn't have the right partner. What do you think makes our partnership work?
I just think you and I work in almost every way. We have very different, and I have the ability to pull you in and ground you, and you have the ability to pull me out of my shell and step into life in a different type of way. So I really do think there's a yin yang connection for us in so many ways.
I can sound very up and out there, and Julie has a way of getting me back down to earth so I can at least explain what I'm trying
I
to
have to raise my hand to get you to stop talking for a second so I can throw in a sentence or a
Yeah,
question.
that's fair.
But that's what it takes. And you get excited and you want to execute. And one of the things that has always held true with you since the day I know you is you are a woman of your word. And
Thank you. That's important to me
it, it,
to be that
it's
way.
it's always been consistent, and I can always rely on you. And I don't think a lot of us out there can say that with 100% certainty about others.
Yeah. It's interesting that you went in that direction because when I think about what helps women collaborate versus compete, I think it's the ability to trust.
And that's difficult in any relationship,
Agreed.
right? Yeah. And to really trust. And I think that takes time. Someone can have great intentions and seem awesome, but then as time goes on, they may do some shady things that you don't trust. That's where communication comes in, though,
Yeah.
right?
I'm only laughing because I'm so guilty of this, right? So I think a lot of women go into business expecting community and they end up experiencing competition first. And when I went into Limitless, because I was bringing a community with me to start it, and I had a founding community that are still members today, it was just smaller. I expected the model to be understood. I expected it to be self-explanatory, and the biggest challenge I've had in the last 12 months is that it's not self-explanatory. People don't naturally women don't naturally gravitate towards community in this context. It's specifically in the business context.
I've gone to some meetings down here, excuse me, with the Delray Chamber of Commerce, Boca Chamber of Commerce, Boynton Chamber, and I see a lot of female business owners, and a lot of them are very strong-minded, strong physical presence. And in my head, I automatically go to, if you're going to be a success as a woman, like, do you have to be a bitch, or can you be successful and strong and not be a bitch and treat the people you work with well?
Expecting you to say that.
It 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 seems like a lot of women in higher
Yeah.
positions, are gonna
Well,
be a
there's
little
a
bitchy.
There's a subtle competitiveness, right? There's an energy shift when people are now the CEO of their business and they know that people are looking at them as a woman and are equating femininity and womanhood with weakness. I think that they overcompensate in that way and it comes across as bitchiness. And I also think that people react weird to success sometimes. Men and women like react weird to success. I think
Financial
less,
success?
I would say visibility and financial success is not batted like, people don't bat an eye when a man does it, but they
Yeah.
bat plenty of eyes when a woman does it, and then the next thing that usually comes out of their mouth is, "Who funded it?"
Yep. As if we are.
Funded by our husbands that don't exist?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, there's certainly, places for men within female-owned businesses, but they have to be comfortable working for women. And
Yeah.
I do think over the last decade, even though we have been, you know, pushed down, I think that women have really risen up, and there are so many females in high positions that it's wonderful to see.
Yeah, and not to bash on any of the men, we both have very close male friends, and we love our male friends just as much as we love our women, but as it pertains to the topic today about how women behave towards other women in business, that is something that has, let's say, been floated around the boardroom where people say, "Oh, her husband's funding the business, and that's why she made it," and it's not always the case.
Right, exactly. It's nice that that person has that. It makes it easier at
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Direct correlation, I don't know about that.
Correct. So in the future, when we have Haley on, we're going to have to delve deeper into toxic mentorship. We're not going to be able to get to it today, but she has said to me in passing that she had a toxic mentor that she had to break up with. I can totally relate to that because being an entrepreneur in business, I've had a few of them, not just one, I've had a few, and you've been around for all of them. I think it's definitely something that I would imagine some of the women that you're experiencing at times that you're like, "Do you have to be a bitch?" are also in mentor positions, and they're probably being a bitch to the other female that they're mentoring in a way, because that's sometimes what my experience was like, having a very strong female presence who had that energy and air about her, that, like, RBF face, all the things that you described. Like, I had mentors like that, and they weren't kind, and they weren't I learned a lot, yes, but it was difficult. It was really difficult, and there were so many other ways we could have gone about learning.
Yeah, and mentorship isn't just about learning a trade, right? There's so much more in how to communicate and how to use your body language. And some people just aren't great teachers.
No, true. And I do think what could be explored more in that future episode is like when mentorship crosses into control and it's no longer mentorship, because that's something else that I've seen in our industry, wellness industry, where somebody thinks they're the authority of whatever the wellness is, and then they try to control everyone around them with that authority. And it's also, there's no effing authority when it comes to certain modalities and models here. I said something to somebody recently and I said, Most things are made up." And I said, what I mean by that is there's no perfect framework for every single thing that we hear. Some of the stuff that we're getting is anecdotal information that we've applied many, many times to find what works for most people, but that doesn't mean it works for everyone. When someone says, "Oh, I'm a certified da 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 da," what does that fucking mean?
Exactly. We had that conversation the other day.
Some of the most incredible collaborations that we've had since starting Root and Rise are the people who we have working with us now who totally understand the concept, understand the integration into Limitless, maintain their practices how they want to maintain their practices, and come into ours like hungry cheerleaders that can't wait to get to the next game
Yes,
with us
yes,
and
and
can't wait.
it's like it's such an exhalation to find women who are similar minds and yeah, are cheerleaders for us. And
And then we're cheerleaders right back for them because that's exactly how it's a symbiotic relationship. That was the word I was looking for. And being women in business can be incredibly powerful when the energy is right. And we've experienced that powerful, incredible energy, and those partnerships that we have now are because of that amazing energy. When it's flowing, it feels amazing. And that doesn't discount that we've also learned that not everyone who's here to support you actually does.
right.
And that's okay. That's just part of building something real, right? So I'm not complaining. I'm highlighting some things that I feel like are whispered when they should be shouted.
Yeah,
And
well said.
and I feel like somebody who has had to hear me for the last several years, if not a decade, of the things that I've experienced going into people's businesses and optimizing them. I mean, you're the one of the biggest reasons why I even jumped into something this large of my own is because you've been saying, "Why don't you just do this for yourself? Why are you always doing it for other people?"
Yeah,
And I
it's
didn't have an answer for you at the times that you asked me those things.
and you did a lot of work on yourself to be able to do this and step up with confidence like others have.
And I dragged you
Why
with
not
me.
me, right? Yes, and I'm so grateful.
And then I'm like, "Oh, by the way, we're going on this adventure together. Hang on."
I'm so lucky. I am so lucky.
I think we should definitely have a follow-up podcast for this. There's a couple other threads that we could go into. We should have some guest speakers for it. But other than that, is there anything that you wanna leave us with today?
A little
I don't know.
pearl of wisdom.
Yes, a pearl of wisdom. Do you have one?
Um, Let me think for a second. Why don't you go?
One of the things that I've really enjoyed is watching our team develop, watching our individual members thrive in the ways that they have set forth for themselves with our support and how symbiotic that is. I would say that this is one of the healthiest practices I've ever been able to be part of. And it has been enjoyable. It has been fun. It has been funny. It has all the bells and whistles that you would want a thriving practice to have. And the camaraderie that is here with our team as an extension of Limitless has been it has just brought a lot of joy in my life. Even though it does have its moments of stress, I would say the joy outweighs that. And
For sure.
the collaboration that I've experienced has felt powerful.
And I that was great hearing that. I also think that the people who are coming into Limitless and or Root and Rise, these are some scary topics. Wellness, your health, maybe there's some chronic health conditions going on physically. You know, there's some mental health challenges that we all face. And so there's a little trepidation in walking in, but once you walk in, the space is so zen and comforting, and you just want to look around and read everything. It's just such a wonderful, warm space where so many different activities can be accomplished under the wellness umbrella. And I think nearly every person who walks out of there. If we had a survey, we would get really high scores.
I agree. And you know what I will absolutely do before you come up here next? I will have your face framed in the waiting room.
My actual face, like I take it off or a
Nope.
picture?
Just a picture of your face framed for Root and Rise to establish us in the waiting room, which it's just so funny to me that that didn't even occur to me to do because I'm practicing here every day. So I'm like, I am the walking poster. So, but I want to just thank you for joining me today, Julie, and giving me your time. I appreciate it. I look forward to our next episode.
My pleasure. Great topic. And I look forward to speaking to you next week.